Oh, I heard something. Today's project's another chainsaw. It's a Stihl 010AV. I got this with an MS290, both for $100. This thing hasn't ran in about 7 years, so let's see if we can get it started. First thing that I'm gonna do is get this bar and chain off. This will also take this cover off and give me access to the spark plug. This thing actually doesn't look too bad. I've seen way dirtier, and it looks like the oiler is still working, so let's get this spark plug out and check for spark. This spark plug looks brand new from the looks of it out here, so we'll see. It looks like someone might have put this in, try to get it started. Yeah, I don't think this thing has ever ran with this spark plug in it. It's not a great sign. I'll set it here, pull on it, hopefully we'll be able to see some spark. I'm getting spark here, but it's intermittent, so I think this could definitely be the issue. Let me mess around with this and see if I can figure out what exactly is wrong. I took the end of the coil off here and it's getting good spark every time, so I think I cleaned this up a little bit. Hopefully when I put it back together it'll work, but I'll just show you. I'm getting good spark every time. I already took the coil out of here and I will show you how to hook it all up, but basically I need to fish this down through here and pull the wire out if I can, and then I'll hook it all up. That part was kind of difficult to show, but basically I shoved it down in here, grabbed it with a pair of needle nose, and pulled it back through. So let me pull it through even a little more maybe. Okay. The way this works here is this should stab into the wire down here. There we go, just like that. Then we'll take this wire here and wrap it around as many times as I can, just to make sure it's making great contact. Once you've done that, you can just pull it back through. Just like that. Now it's in there. Now when I hook it up, I should be able to get good spark. Alright, I was still having some intermittent spark issues. I went ahead and changed this spark plug to an NGK, and it seems to have improved quite a bit. So I don't know if this end here is not making good contact or what, but I'll show you. I'll put this good spark plug in here. I'm not even sure what an E3 is. I think it's like a Chinese one, but now let's see. Yeah, I'm getting spark every single time. I think both those issues combined are probably what caused this thing not to run anymore. I'm gonna do the same test as before, put a little gas down the cylinder and see if it pops over. I've been messing around trying to get this thing to fire off and it just won't, so I think the next step here is to do a compression test and see what kind of compression we're dealing with. I'm guessing it's going to be a little lower than it should be since it won't pop off with gas down the cylinder. I have it all hooked up here and I'll hold the trigger and we'll see. Looks like we're probably under 70 here, so I'll try it one more time, but that's looking like the culprit. Even a little lower at 60. Probably didn't pull as many times, but that seems to be it. I'll go ahead and pull this cover off here, look through the muffler and see what we can see. The top of the piston doesn't look too bad, so maybe the rings are stuck. This piece is also broken right here, so since I'm not going to be able to fix it today, I'm going to look on eBay and see what they got out there. Probably because I just broke it too. Now we can go ahead and get this muffler off. It's got these locking tabs here. And I think this is going to be an 8mm. Looking down the exhaust here, it doesn't look too bad. I don't see any scoring on the piston, and I can see the cylinder. That doesn't look bad either. This cylinder is only held on by 2 bolts, so I might just whip it off of here and see if the piston ring is stuck to the piston, because there's only 1 ring here. There's just 2 5mm Allens here, so get these off, see what it looks like. This is a really easy chainsaw to work on so far. Okay, easy as that. Oh, yeah, that's a problem. All the needle bearings are down there in the bottom of the case. I'm sure, just for the fun of it here, yep, there's plenty of needle bearings in here, shooting all over my floor. Alright, I think I'm gonna be done for today. See what parts I can get. I've been looking at this cylinder here, and I still see some cross hatching. There's definitely a little bit of scoring, but nothing major. When I took this cylinder off, this whole thing fell apart, and I thought that was the reason. I clearly did not do enough research, and this big end on the connecting rod is actually an uncaged bearing. So I'm gonna have to put all of those bearings back in, slide the connecting rod back over when it's time to put it together. Before I do that, I'm going to work on this piston ring. See, this side here is not seized. Over here it is. So I'm going to try to heat this piston up, get enough room to slide these rings out so I can clean it all up. Oh, I just broke the piston ring. So I don't have to be as gentle with it now. It's like all off except for this one corner right here. There we go, I think I got it now. Ow, this thing's hot. That was very hot. Alright, now I'm gonna clean the top of this piston off and the groove out as best I can. I have a new piston ring that I can throw in here, and we'll see what happens. And this is just a brass wire wheel, so I'm really not taking anything off. I'm probably going to leave it like that. Just clean out the groove really good with like a pick or something else, and we'll put the new piston ring on it. Here's a good trick I learned. Use the old broken piston clip to clean out this groove here because it's the perfect size. Okay, I have my new piston ring here. I'm just going to lube it up with a little oil and slap it on here. And this thing, it was facing directly back because the exhaust shoots out the side. So I'm just going to point it back. There's no pin or anything. And these aren't angled, so I'm just going to slap it on here. Oh yeah, it turns perfectly. It's a nice gap. Hopefully this will work. Now I just need to get this big end back together, which is probably going to be a task. To get this big end together, I have all the individual bearings. I'm going to be putting them in grease to help them stick. And I have a coat hanger that I bent here to hold it on the other side, hopefully. And I should be able to get them all in place and then slide it back over. I haven't figured out which side I'm going to put it on. I'm just going to use this stuff called assembly goo. It should be fine. It'll just burn out right away. But it's pretty sticky stuff, so I'm hoping that these bearings will stick. And these went everywhere when I was taking it apart because I thought it was broken, so hopefully I have enough of them. Okay, as you can see now, I have all the bearings in. Connecting rod is nice and tight. I have a bunch of grease around there, but like I said, it'll burn off. So now I'm gonna try to set this thing at like bottom dead center so I can get the ring on, and we'll keep moving. I'm just gonna very carefully move this to bottom dead center and maybe hold on to it somewhere. I don't think there's enough movement here to get the con rod off, so I'm just gonna lube everything up, try to put this cylinder back down. Make sure your piston ring is facing this way if you're doing it. I have the cylinder lubed up. I'm going to try to be very careful. Do not want to put that connecting rod back on. I'm going to go ahead and throw my base bolts back in here. And I don't have torque specs for these, so I'm just going for pretty tight. Cylinder's back on. Feels good. Crank feels good. Definitely getting some good compression now. Hopefully enough to start this thing. So we'll start throwing this thing back together. I think we need to put the muffler on next. Next on my list is this side cover here. Where this one is broken, I went on eBay, found another pretty cheap one. It's obviously in a little worse shape cosmetically, but I would rather have that than like an open flywheel here. So I'm gonna flip this over and transfer everything over to the new one. So I think this is just gonna pop out, and then like that, we'll go ahead and get this piece off of here. And then I'll get this bolt out of the back, and I think that'll be it. Oh boy, it's another one of those rings, so I'm gonna have to be careful. You need to get some way of holding this on real quick. Oh, that kind of worked. I'll be redoing this, I can tell. Yeah, it's just gonna have to sit there for a little while. I need to uncoil this so I can get this out and move it over. And I'm probably just gonna cut this and retie it once I stick it through on that side. Alright, I think that should be good. Now I just gotta deal with my spring over here. Took way longer than expected, but I got this back in here. I'm gonna try to cut this zip tie loose without having to go crazy and put the recoil back on. Okay, I got the spring working here, and I did that by basically pre-winding it and then moving the string around one loop, just like that. Put my screw in. This piece sits in there just like that. And I just have this left. Now I just need to transfer over this one last piece. Now I'm going to put this recoil back on, if I can figure it out. Goes just like that. And the last little bit here, I'm gonna use my socket and screw this back in. Alright, I think it's time to put the spark plug back in and see if it fires. Alright, for this test I'm just gonna pour a little gas straight down the cylinder, see if I can get it to pop over now before I go any further. I'm sure it's gonna need a carb clean. Just put a couple drops down. Let's hope she fires. Choke's on. That's on. Oh, I heard something. Nice. Oh, shoot. Yes. She lives. Now, let me just clean this carburetor out and hopefully it stays running. To get to this carburetor, it's pretty easy. It's just this one screw. Cover pops right off. 2 screws here. Air filter. Doesn't look too bad in here. That's definitely had some gasket maker or something on it. It's got a little junk on it here, so this gasket down here looks good. I'll see if I have a new one for here. I'll take these two side pieces off. I'm gonna clean this off first. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and open up this side first. Okay, it looks pretty good in there. Probably just gonna go ahead and replace these two diaphragms. So it's this one here, and then the gasket behind it right there. Let me find the gasket. I have the gasket here as well, so. Should go just like that. Moving on to this side of the carb, just one big screw here. This side will come off. Again, we have a gasket. And a diaphragm on this side. Now I think this is a fuel screen. Let me get a pick and see. Yeah, that's a fuel screen. I don't have another one, but it doesn't even look bad, so I'm just gonna put that back. I think it's that one right there. All the holes are lining up. So we can go ahead and put this back. Now I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I might make one. I don't think I'm gonna use this gasket maker again. Okay, I scraped this gasket maker off. I have a new gasket that I just made up. It's definitely not the best, but I think it'll do for what I'm trying to do. Just gotta hook up the throttle cable and I'll set it all back down in there. Let's see if she'll start. Choke's on, trigger's on. I didn't get to finish this thing up last night. I pulled it on a few times, but wasn't really getting anywhere, so I'm going to try again today, but might have to go back into the carburetor. Choke's on. Made sure it has some good gas in here. Spark plug's on. Oh, that's more than I got yesterday. Alright, I'm holding the trigger wide open, just stepping on it, because I think it's still getting too much fuel. It's like blowing back out of here. I'll show you. Look, helps if you turn it on. noisy with no chain on it. And the oiler is working great. But yeah, I think I'm still having a carburetor issue. I'm going to have to look into this and see why there's so much pressure coming back. Yeah, I'll be back. I have the carb off once again. I'm going to try to flip this reed valve over and see if that does anything. See if I'm getting blowback because the reed's not shutting all the way. So be careful here. There's a little nut on this side. Definitely has a little bit of debris on it. Nothing major though, so you never know. Alright, that's shutting good. I'll go ahead and install this and see if it works. Okay, adjusting the reed valve seemed to have worked. I'm going to go ahead and put this chain on now. Never really put one on like this. It's definitely not my favorite. And then we can put our cover on. So I'll loosen this up so I can tighten the chain a little bit. The tool is not the best for tightening the chain. That should be good for testing. See if I can start this thing one time for you. Helps when you turn it on. It even idles. Alright, I got the air box on. Started up one last time here. If I turn it on again. There we have it. Alright, I think that's a wrap for this little Stihl. We fixed the coil on it. We put a new piston ring in it. We put the new recoil starter on it. Got this thing back together. It's putting out about 145 pounds of compression now. Starts good. The oiler works. So I think I'm going to call it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.